With man-made beaches and the largest concentration of Art Deco buildings in the world, it is the only major American city to be founded by a woman. We are exploring the jumping off point for the Everglades and the Florida Keys on this episode of Ms. World Traveler in Miami. Hi friends, I'm Ms. World Traveler Kerry Damiano, and I'm taking you on an adventure to discover style, design, fashion, art, and antiques in great shopping destinations across the country and around the world. Come with me. Named after a Native American tribe, Miami is a mix of cultural influences, a global center for international banks, over 60 in the downtown alone, and considered the cruise capital of the world. With around 5 million passengers passing through and several large cruise lines calling it home, its subtropical climate makes it a sought-after vacation destination. Another draw to Miami is its architecture. The Art Deco district in the South Beach neighborhood was born out of the rebuilding efforts after a 1926 hurricane devastated the area. Over 900 buildings were constructed between the 1920s and 1940s that bear the distinct pinks, yellows, and blues, intricate details, and streamlined modern design. Prime examples include the Carlisle, built in 1941 with rounded edges and a colorful palette, and the funky Leslie Hotel, built in 1937, and many others that pay homage to the vibrant glamour and opulence of the 1940s. A walk down Ocean Drive in South Beach, the heart of the candy-colored Art Deco district, is a must-do on your visit to Miami. Along the same lines, the Windward Arts District is the quintessential destination for cutting-edge, contemporary urban street art murals, dubbed the Windward Walls. What began as an open-air art gallery in 2009 blossomed into a neighborhood haven for aspiring creatives and an ever-changing canvas. Not only is the exterior art a reason to spend time here, but also because you wouldn't want to miss the Bakehouse Arts Complex. A 1926 industrial bakery that was transformed in the 1980s to a 33,000 square foot artist space with 2 galleries, a classroom, and 60 working studios, the Bakehouse Arts Complex is bordered by the Miami Design District, the Windward Arts District, and Midtown. The desirable location was only part of the reason for former principal ballerina Andrea Spiridonakos to set up her textile studio here. So I'm here with Andrea, and my first question to you is, how did you end up at the Bakehouse Arts Complex?
That's a good question. I was actually in New York City. I had just graduated from Fashion Institute of Technology, and I was looking to move back to Miami, where I had danced for many years as a ballerina. And I Googled affordable art studios in Miami, and this came up. I sent an application, and it's a rolling application if there's a room available. Now I believe there's a wait list, but I sent my portfolio and I got the studio without even seeing it. So I'm very grateful to have it.
Well, it's so cute. It's small,
Yes.
But plenty of space for working for what you're doing here. So I did notice that a lot of the other studios are closed. So is that normal, or is there something special going on?
It depends on the day. So it's open to the public from 12 to 5 during the weekdays, but for the artists, it's open 24 hours a day. So sometimes at night, you might see 40 different artists here. and it depends on the day, weekends and stuff like that. But also we have open studios a few times a year, and that's a very exciting time to come because every single artist is in their place and having wine and whatever, and you get to see.
It's all event.
Yes, exactly.
People mingling. It makes it. There's a lot of energy and
excellent energy. Yeah. And I'm the only fashion designer here, so I have a little bit of a different artistic method.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how does having been a ballerina, does that play at all into your design?
I believe it does.
Sensibility.
Yeah, I believe it does. Sometimes I don't see it, but other people have told me that they see it. I'm aware of the female body and how it wants to move, and also how you feel when you move through space. So I think that's part of what I create. I want to create to make a woman's body feel good as she walks through space, or look good as she walks through space.
We all want that.
Yeah, exactly. So it is really art for your body, but
and for your house.
And for your house. Yes, exactly. That's a new thing as of COVID. I started making pieces for the home, and they're fun pieces because I think an object that's in space, it could be transferred from, like an heirloom, from the family down.
Yes.
And I believe it collects stories. So it's the time that it took to make it, the hands that were touching it to make it, and then the hands that touched it, that lived with it. And I feel that all that energy goes into a piece.
I love that. Yes. Well, one of the things, when I first walked into your studio, I saw this beautiful dyed wool, and we were just in Christchurch, New Zealand, and covered. We talked to a woman who does this. And then I said to you, we were just in Christchurch and talked to a woman who does this, and you said, I get these from New Zealand.
I get a lot of them from New Zealand and Canada. No sheep in Miami. So I know, so I have to get it from somewhere else. And I buy it from the artisans who know how to hand paint it themselves. They're all hand dyed, hand dip dyed, and no two are exactly like, which I love because that's also like my creation. So it's impossible to recreate exactly.
Yes. Well, and then this one you were telling me you ordered from Canada.
Yes, and I actually gave them the colors and they created it for me. And this is also a group of artists that own the sheep and shear the sheep and dye it all themselves. I obviously have too small of a space to deal with the dyeing of wool. Also, dyeing wool is a very specific process. It has to be hot in order for the dye to stick. But if it's too hot, the wool will felt. So you have to make it so that it's not felted, but that it's permanent. So it's an interesting, you have to really know what you're doing. You have to have a lot of space for it. So I prefer to buy it from the artisans that, already know what they're doing.
Expertise.
Exactly.
Right?
And then from there, I mix it and match it in different ways. And it's really painting with wool. That's the way I see what I do.
So I'm going to move this because this piece is really beautiful. Tell me about the process of making this.
Okay, so I actually did a time lapse of this and I have it on my Instagram. It was over several days and it's many different layers of multiple different wools. So you can see all the different colors are multiple layers of wools, some twisted, some yarns, but all wool. And actually there is some mohair thread. And so things were felted with soap and water. So the process for this and also for the couch and the more tough, durable pieces are done with soap and water. And it's really an ancient technique. It's actually, felt is actually the oldest fabric in the world. They believe that the cavemen, that's what they actually did before they could kill the animals and skin them. They would take hairs and plant fibers and mash them together. And in essence, it hasn't changed in a millennia. So what it is really many wool fibers, many layers with soap and water and then massaged. And over time, it basically creates like a dreadlock. How our hair can tangle together. It's the same way with this, and the wool fibers tangle, and then it becomes a permanent fabric.
It's like they like each other.
Yes.
And they want to stay together.
Exactly. And it does shrink a lot, so they do like each other a lot.
Yes. They get very close together. Yes. So you can do things like this, but you also have been making accessories, handbags, scarves, the sofa that we're sitting on. I almost don't want to sit on it.
No,
it's so beautiful.
It wants to be sitting on.
But tell me a little bit about this.
Okay, so the purses that I make are made actually in a different way. Well, first of all, this has a nice little crocodile leather inside. This purse is done with what's called a needle felting technique. So this is done on top of cashmere. So I take a piece of cashmere and then the wool felt is needle felted with a small needle.
And is that done by machine or by hand?
All by hand.
Okay.
All by hand. And even the coats and stuff like that have been made with the same small tool, and that creates the distinct patterns. So you have more control with the needle felting. Takes more time, perhaps, but I think it's a beautiful result.
Now, how will this wear? Will some of these fibers lift, and will it start to pill over time?
Over time, it could, but then every piece comes with its own little needle felt and instructions on how, if you want to put the pills back in. But over time, then it will knit itself permanently, and it won't be a problem.
Great. Yeah. Well, this is beautiful. And again, the sofa that we're sitting on, you said this is a bit of a new venture for you.
Yes, and this is done in a different process, so this won't pill because it's done. It's already been rubbed so much in the process, so that has a different quality, and maybe it is a little tougher. I wouldn't make fashion out of this, but for furniture, it's perfect.
Well, and it has a texture. Definitely has a texture to it, but it will last the test of time, meaning people can sit on it. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to put it in your house and just look at it.
No, no, absolutely. It wants to be worn and loved and used. And I actually have a sample piece. You can see how thick it is, and you can see how wide the piece how deep the piece actually is. It won't get a hole or anything like that. It's impossible to tear, actually, even with your hands. It's impossible.
Wow, wonderful. Yeah. So this piece you said you had made from scratch, but you also do some refurbishing, reupholstering of vintage pieces and different things.
Yes, exactly. So I do have a mid-century modern chair. It's actually a Kohler chair. It has a full swivel, and I found that, and I didn't want to touch the shape. It was too perfect the way it was, and I just had that upholstered with my fabric. So there is also a possibility to do that. I also do wall coverings. That's something that
we see one right behind us here.
Exactly, and it is possible to even do full lengths of the wall if someone wanted as a wallpaper, like a full.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it is possible because everything is made by hand, and it's not like a fabric that the loom is only so wide. It goes as much as you want, so I can make it as wide or as long. The parameters are endless.
However big your table is, that's how big it can be.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Well, where do you get your inspiration? Because obviously there's a cactus lamp behind us. So if that's just fun and different, where do you get your inspiration?
I do get a lot of inspiration from nature, and I also think that Miami inspires me a lot with the colors. I'm very inspired by the light here and the vibrancy of the colors. I also think that I have a lot of inspiration from like a surreal feeling that you get in dreams, which I love. You know, that part that it's like life, but something is a little bit off. I like that idea as well. So a little bit of that makes its way into my work too.
It's a small studio that packs a big punch with bold colors, bold statement pieces, and best of all, Andrea's bright and warm personality. Now don't go away. We're going to feel the pulsing energy of Little Havana next time on Ms. World Traveler in Miami.